Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this, the December Firestarter Forum. I bet you didn't expect to see me here at this point, but don't adjust your screen. I'm not doing a bad impression of Chris. We just decided to shake things up a little bit for this, the last Firestarter Forum of this year. And don't worry, you will be seeing Chris very, very soon. So today's topic is what we learned this year and our 5 top tips for a successful 2022. So we're going to take a very quick look back and reflect on the learnings of this year, but then we're going to move swiftly forwards into planning for a successful 2022, and we'll get some thoughts from Chris and our top 5 tips that you can all take away for your own businesses. So over the next 75 minutes, we're going to do some of the usual stuff that you see on screen right now. So we'll do some polls in a second. Then Chris will come on and do his piece. We'll have a good breakout session. Dave will do his with interview, and then we're going to bring back the quickfire round. So get ready for that in the feedback session as well. So just on Zoom, you've all done this before, but just quick reminder, you're all on mute at the moment, but as and when you need to talk, just unmute yourselves. Best view is gallery view, and when we get into the breakout sessions, you don't need to worry about that. You'll just magically be transported into a brand new room and then brought back into the main room when the breakouts finish as well. And then when we're having the open forum and throughout the session, if you want to send any questions through to me in the chat, then I can sort through those and deal with them as we go along. So let's get into the polls. So if we could bring the first poll up. I can't see the polls coming up. Is it up? Yes, it looks like it's up. So first poll is, what area of your business has been your biggest challenge in 2021? So you've got 8 different options there. If you could select one of those options as you're going through, that would be great. So we've got financial, products and services, sales, marketing, operations, people, leadership, and technology. So technology is being my biggest challenge at the moment because I can't see the poll that's going on. So I'm not sure how far through the progress on the voting we are going along. So I'm going to take a guess in a minute. Okay, right. I think we can call that now, so we could see the results on that one. So there we go. So clear leader on that one is people has been the biggest challenge, followed by financial challenges. So that's not really surprising, bearing in mind the situations that we've been in with furlough throughout the course of the year on the financial side of things, and obviously managing the COVID scenario and working remotely and all of that kind of stuff. So all very interesting stuff there. So you might need to close that poll down yourselves, which I'm going to do now as well. And the second poll today is looking more forward towards next year and what kind of level of confidence we have in our planning for next year. So if we could bring the second poll up as well. So how confident are you that you have a robust plan in place for a successful 2022? So that ranges from very confident, can't wait to get started, got it all sorted, and going through the levels there to at the bottom, not at all confident, haven't got a plan in place at all. So if we could all vote on that one as well, then we can kind of gauge the temperature of the room and see how people are feeling about next year. So we'll just let that run for. Okay, let's call that one as well, so we could see the results on that one. So most people pretty confident, actually. So hopefully with some of the things that we'll talk through today, we might be able to give you a little bit of extra help and get everybody into that very confident level. But we do have 5 people there that seem to have got everything nailed and really looking forward to next year. So that's fantastic news. So thank you for that. And so now, without further ado, let's get stuck into the main topic of the day, and welcome your friend and mine, Mr. Chris O'Riordan, to the screen, who clearly needs no introduction at all.
Sorry,
Good morning, Chris. How you doing?
Morning, Matt. Yeah, very well. Yeah, nice to just be kicking back and enjoying the start of the forum. So yeah,
I was
very
going to
good.
say, have you enjoyed the rest while I've been keeping your seat warm?
Yeah, I like it. Right, we've got to do some work now,
Excellent.
haven't we? So
Absolutely. Well, I don't think there's any danger of me taking over your presenting duties anytime soon. But anyway, over to you, and let's hear what you have to say.
cool. Right. Okay. So we're going to talk about 2021, and people that come to these forums regularly know that we generally have a guest speaker, but today it has fallen to me to cover a bit of material. And when you listen to the news last night, it probably feels as though we're going pretty well full circle to where we were this time last year. But I don't think that's completely true, to be honest. I think lots of really interesting things have happened in 2021. And perhaps one of the easiest ways to reflect on that is to just have a bit of a reflection on what we've covered in these forums over the course of 2021. So if we move on, we can have a look at this. So right at the beginning of the year, we talked about, so there's lots of similar themes, I'm afraid. So we talked about building personal confidence, business confidence, getting yourself straight for a new year. We did quite a bit of coverage on well-being in the workplace. We did 2 or 3 forums on that. It seemed to be a topic that really struck a chord with people from all different types of angles. The bottom left one actually was another fascinating one. We did a forum which we could have make last 3 hours probably on the generation gap in the workplace, and what the future holds for younger workers. And if you remember, those of you who came to that one, we had 3 panels of different representatives, everything from the seasoned people, let's call them that, down to the people just about to embark on their work lives, and people who had been in it for a little bit of time. So great themes. And we also did things like just understanding the balance between profit and purpose in running a business, and also just trying to understand, is it all changing, or is it really still the same stuff, just through perhaps a different lens? So I think it's been what that underlines actually is perhaps that maybe it's just been a year of people trying to find their new skin and understand what life is really like in this new world. And then, of course, we had the anniversary forum, which many of you came to, many of you remember. That was in April, so that was 1 year after we'd been doing these. And we went hybrid for that, so just got some great shots there of live bands, comedians, cocktail making, video walls, and just a really great experience. And I think perhaps we all came out of that feeling that things were sort of getting back to some kind of normality. And I certainly feel that's definitely been the sense as we've gone through the last few months, notwithstanding the continued challenges. So off we go again. And as we move into the new year, we thought it would be just interesting, as always, just to try and pick some things just to inspire, thought provoke, share a few basic ideas. So I kind of, the place I went to for this mainly was I just looked at some of our central content from some of the stuff we do on a pretty routine basis. And as Matt regularly says to me, and I actually had a conversation with somebody yesterday in America who runs a not dissimilar business to ours. He said, actually, you can't go wrong with this type of content, because whilst it sometimes feels a bit kind of repeat for us as the deliverers, the content remains so valid that it just continues to inspire. So hopefully that's the experience you're going to get in the next 10 minutes or so. So let's move on. And as I said, the first place I went was these two absolute kind of hero courses that we run at Firestarter, the practical business planning and the better business development course. And I thought I'd just pick 2 or 3 things out of these courses just to share, because I think they're born out of some of the key principles that we love at Firestarter. And I thought it was just worth sharing these. And then I've got my special one at the end. So number 1, thank you for moving me on, Paddy. Number 1, you can't go wrong with the Firestarter strategic intent exercise. I'm going to cover these at super high speed, but lots of people have seen this. Lots of people haven't seen this. this exercise, which is you don't even need a template for it, you just need a blank piece of paper. I would recommend just doing this exercise at least once a year. And the way this exercise works is you ask yourself, where do I want to be in 3 years' time? What is my intent in 3 years' time? 3 years being a good window. It's not too soon. It's not too far away. But do it across 5 little topics. So the 5 topics listed on the right there, which I'll cover in a moment. And just spend like 10 minutes, 20 minutes asking yourself those questions for those 5 topics. And it really helps just to start to give a bit of clarity to what otherwise can be quite a chaotic kind of tunnel kind of lifestyle that people live in. So the 5 topics, if we just quickly go on to the next slide, are the financial, the product, the team, processes, and leadership. These are great things to do as a business owner, business leader. So financial, like what do you want it to look like financially? Like what do you want your turnover to be? What do you want your profit to be? How much cash do you want in the bank? Product, what do you actually want to be selling? And how does that compare to what you're doing today? Team, who do you want in your team? What does your team need to look like to deliver what you want to deliver in 3 years' time? What do you have to do to get to that place? Processes, what do you need to do in your business to improve your processes? And leadership, generally that conversation is around you. What do you want your role to be in 3 years' time? So I honestly think this is the perfect mince pie and whatever your typical of choice exercise to do in that period between Christmas and New Year. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the pain points exercise. Again, these are so that one was from Practical Business Planning. This one's from Better Business Development. You cannot go wrong with consistently challenging yourself on the pain points that make people buy from you. And the exercise to do is to just start writing. So write down the common problems that people buying from you have. So literally just do a list. Which here is a list. I mean, that slide's not really worth it, is it? Just write a list of the common problems that your customers face, and then you can generally find you can group these down into 4 or 5 pain points, and then match the stuff that you deliver with those pain points. And actually then what you need to do is work out what the killer questions are that you need to ask people to bring out those pain points. Really, really simple stuff. But my point here is that with a constantly changing landscape, doing this exercise again, why are people buying from you, should really help inform what you're trying to do with your business in 2022. And the thing that always comes out of this type of thinking is that actually no matter what moment in time you're at, that the pain points really, once you go underneath them, tend to be much the same and deeply personal. So people frustrated that they can't make something happen, trying to hit some financial goals, struggling for time, wanting to make themselves look good, realizing that they have a competency gap, or fearing something, fearing a risk. So these personal motivators don't tend to change, but how they present themselves at any moment in time does. So the 2022 relevant piece of this is to study what's going on at the moment and see how what you're offering is dealing with current pain points. So that's number 2. Number 3, again, this is an agility one. This is straight out of the Practical Business Planning course, this one, which is like staying agile with your team by not over engineering what you're asking them to do, but just having interactive, short to medium term conversations around what they need to do right now. And this seems to be consistently a pattern that's happening with this continued I guess momentum of change that we're going for. So this next template here, dead simple template again. And we've been using this for probably 25 years, and it never ceases to deliver. So you just have a conversation with someone, you identify 5 key focus areas for them, and then you set a couple of milestones as to the progress that you want to make on each of those 5 areas. And it's an interactive exercise, it's an agile exercise, it's a great basis for monthly conversations and reviews. And you just can't go wrong with this. So as you're going through your 2022 thinking and you're trying to work out, how do I make everybody in my team contribute to what I deliver, this is a great tool for doing that. Number 4 is accountability and the concept of having an accountability buddy. Being a boss is really hard because by its very definition, you don't have a boss if you're the boss. So actually, people often will slip into the I guess accountability drift when they themselves are the boss. So finding yourself an accountability buddy, someone that you make yourself accountable to, is a massively powerful thing to do. And again, we've seen this work in all kinds of different ways. So like some people use their partners. That's a dodgy one. I would stay away from that one. Some people have kind of mutual accountability kind of arrangements with people. I'll hold you accountable, you hold me accountable type arrangements. Some people do it with their kids, especially young professional kids, because it's kind of it's a nice way to interactively with them. But it's kind of the point is you change your mode so you don't see accountability as a negative. You see it as almost as a goal to make sure that you get stuff happening. Matt Wheeler, John Keogh, actually, myself, we all came out of the at various points of our lives out of the Stanley Works stable, and Stanley value number one was accountability, and it was like the byline was make and meet commitments, and that's always stuck with me as a thing. So I think that's a really powerful one. And then the very last one that we're going to talk about now it's not out of our courses. It's almost a bit of fun, but it kind of it really sort of seems to have struck a chord with a few people already with some of the stuff we did on LinkedIn. But this challenging yourself, challenging your planning from as many different perspectives as you can find. So the risk is when you're kind of in the middle of the game, on the field, kicking the ball around or whatever you're doing, that you lose your perspective. You get tunnel visioned as to what's going on. And some of my absolute favorite quotes, we've used them on these forums before, is the difference between a leader and a manager is the leader will be the person who says we're in the wrong jungle, as opposed to the manager who just keeps chopping through the jungle. The famous "we're too busy doing it wrong to do it right" kind of statement, and most recently the "I can't sharpen my axe, I'm too busy felling trees" type principle. So these are all things that say, right, just elevate yourself, find a way to do it. And a couple of really good ways to do this is the ask yourself, what would the 18-year-old you think about what you're doing now? That's such a powerful question. And without further ado, I had to dig around and I put this photo on LinkedIn yesterday. There are so many questions that this photo begs. And thank you for making it bigger. I appreciate that. So thank you for making it smaller. So I mean, I could riff on this photo for about 25 minutes. There's so many interesting things going on in this photo for me. But it makes, this is me and my mate Johnny when I was 18, outside the Grapevine pub in Birmingham, now sadly closed. I think we'd just been traveling for probably 3 or 4 days, and I had a gig somewhere random, like Shrewsbury or somewhere, which is why that's my 1980s trumpet gig bag in front of me. But that was kind of so like when I look at this guy here and I say, what does this guy think of what I'm doing now? I know this guy was quite idealistic, generally quite drunk, relatively anti-materialistic, pretty adventurous, excited about what was coming up, but and I didn't have any views on stereotypical like making a family, building a career. I just wasn't in that place. And it's really interesting to reflect that I think so many of those kind of things that drove me at that age still drive me, but I think I have the reality check that you have to pay for it all. So that's really interesting. The other thing that's really interesting about this photo is Johnny's story on the right as we look at it there. My mate Johnny, who I still talk to on a regular basis, and he's kind of a really interesting guy. He's second generation, like Oxbridge. He did an architecture degree at Cambridge. Super bright guy. He's now married. No, he's not married. He's not married. He's got 2 kids. The last one of which he delivered himself during COVID because they couldn't get an ambulance out. So he had to deliver his partner's baby himself. Firstly, if we just move on, I've got a picture of Johnny now. firstly, I've got more hair than him. That's definitely a thing that I think is very important. Secondly, he's now a professional puppeteer. That is the life he chose. And he's as happy as anybody I know. And I think this again, it starts to make me think, what does the 18-year-old me think? What would the 18-year-old him think of where we started and where we've ended up with? So I think this is a massively interesting perspective. And if you've got young kids, like I would check Goody and Story out. Not a shameless plug, but really interesting stuff. They do some great work. But I bet he never would have thought this was what he was going to do. So the opposite perspective, of course, is to ask yourself, how would the 80-year-old you describe your career successes? And clearly, I don't particularly have a reference point for this other than perhaps my father, who was very successful. Built a business, made a lot of money, all those kind of good things. But when you ask him to reflect on his career successes, he's pushing 80 now. He probably summarizes it up in about a sentence and a half. Says, well, yeah, I was in insurance, I built a business, it went well, yeah, that was all very good. And that's literally the summary of his life's work. And when you look at that, it makes you realize sometimes all the noise and all the stuff you're going through, potentially, when you reflect back on it in due course, it won't be as important as you think it was at the time. So these are all of these are just really kind of potentially interesting things to talk about. I put it on LinkedIn yesterday, that picture of me, had a few reactions, not least people starting to reflect on what their 18-year-old self would think about themselves now. And of course, my younger daughter has just turned 18. So interesting for her to think a little bit about it from the other angle. So point being, cement your plans with alternative perspective. So that pretty well brings us to the end. These were the 5 points I made. You can't go wrong with that strategic intent exercise. Honestly, do it. 20 minutes of your life well spent. The pain points thing, keep challenging yourself. Why are people buying the things that we are selling? Why are they buying it? And how is that different now? That areas of focus tool just to get your team agilely engaged in what you're doing, really important. Find yourself an accountability buddy. Can't recommend it enough. And then this challenge your planning from many different perspectives. So now it is your turn. Again, my job always is just, when I do these ones, is just to thought provoke a bit, get everybody thinking ahead of going into the breakouts and the broader conversation. So the breakouts, simple stuff, which most people have done lots of times now. We'll put you in for about 20 minutes. We will have a Firestarter facilitator in there. Introductions, just be careful with introductions because we don't want to run out of time. So if you spend 5 minutes introducing each of yourselves and there's 4 of you in the room, you'll be done. So that's not best use of time. Facilitator will try and move it on. Also, the facilitator, their job is to try and collect some information so that afterwards we can have some nice conversation. So we're going to do 2 things with these breakouts. First thing is we're going to ask you to just think about for the quick fire. So when we come back, we'll do the quick fire, which just means we'll just go around and pick a few people just to get sort of a snapshot, like 1 sentence reply. What's your single biggest area of focus for 2022? What are you trying to do in 2022? So that's the quick fire conversation. The breakout topic itself, just a bit of a fun one. Like just have a bit of perspective. Like look at what would the 18-year-old you say about what you're doing now, and what do you think the 80-year-old you, of which some of us are closer than others, I still think I'm a fair way off that, but what would the 80-year-old you say about what you're doing now and what you're planning to do in the next year? So that is it. Enjoy it. We will put you in there for about 20 minutes and then we will see you when you get back. So have fun. Hi. Well, I wasn't expecting that music, but that's very uplifting. So I probably listened to it for longer than the rest of you. So I hope you had a great time in the breakouts. In a second, we're going to go to our 5 minutes with session. Just before we do that, I know this is burned in your minds, but the quick fire question that what we'll do when we come back from Dave is we'll just have a bit of a whiz around a few people and just ask this question. No sort of expansive answers, particularly just like quick 1 or 2 sentence answers would be great. So that's the quick fire question. What's your single biggest focus area for 2022? But now a regular slot, which we've been doing for probably over a year now. Thank you ever so much to Mr. Dave Harries, who has continued to provide us with his excellent services. So we regularly have a 5 minutes with session where we pick a member of the regular or new Firestarter Forum community, for want of a better word, and just find out a little bit more about them. And I presume without any photos of them at 18, but who knows? So Dave Harries, over to you, sir, for your 5 minutes with. Very good to see you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Very good to be back. My guest today is Bobby Olsworth, and it wasn't that long ago that she was 18, because she's one of the younger members of this forum, I would guess. Bobby is the Corporate Relationship Manager at Oxfordshire Mind. She is a graduate of the University of Portsmouth, where she obtained a psychology degree in 2014. Very, very brief introduction there, Bobby, because we've only got 5 minutes, but tell me a little bit more about your journey, how you got to where you are now.
Great. My journey. So yeah, I graduated from Portsmouth, what feels like quite a long time ago, with my degree in psychology. And then I did a lot of traveling. So I've spent quite a few years traveling, which was amazing, around Asia, Canada, South America. And then when I moved back, I kind of got into the corporate world, did a little bit of work in venture capital and in finance, and stopped working for about 6 months and volunteered in Mind in Woking, which was amazing. And I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to help people. And so then I got a job in another charity working in a hospice in Woking, which was incredible, but it was also had its challenges as well. And then I moved back to Oxford quite recently, and this job at Oxfordshire Mind came up, which was perfect because I'm very passionate about mental health and I love what I do in the charity sector.
Well, that's brilliant. So can you tell us very briefly what a corporate relationship manager does?
Yeah, of course. So for anybody who doesn't know, Oxfordshire Mind is one of the local mental health charities. So we provide lots of services across Oxfordshire to help people with their mental health. As the corporate relationship manager at Oxfordshire Mind, it's my job to work with businesses in Oxfordshire to help improve wellbeing in employees, to also help strengthen the business brands, help hit corporate social responsibility goals, and to also help raise money for Oxfordshire Mind so we can carry on providing our services.
Okay, so it's a pretty important job, sort of fairly pivotal in the organisation. And how has the... Sorry, Bobby, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just going to say, how has the last couple of years been for you? You know, I appreciate you've only been in this job relatively recently, but, you know, has it been, I mean, applying and getting interviewed and then going to a new job in the middle of all this pandemic stuff, was that a bit weird?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has started a new job during the pandemic, but I've when I first started, I'd met all of my colleagues online and did the whole interview process online. It's very, very bizarre. But before that, I know a lot of people in the charity sector got put on furlough, and I was one of those people as well in my previous job. So I think it has been a really difficult time for charities in general. But yeah, starting a job with kind of virtually is very challenging, but luckily I was meeting all of my colleagues, but now I think it's going to go back to all virtual again. So
yeah, and tell me about, you know, you mentioned that you traveled a lot when you were younger and that sort of thing. So what do you do now in your spare time? What are your hobbies? What do you do when you're not working?
I like to think I'm fairly adventurous, but maybe it's like low-key adventure. So I do a lot of water sports. I do windsurfing and sailing in my spare time. I'm really big on windsurfing, particularly. It's a lot of fun. Previous holidays this year have all been spent in the Lake District hiking for hours and days on end. We had the weird snowstorm in May in the Lake District, and I was on the top of Skiddaw when that happened. So it was quite scary, but it was very fun. I like to do some surfing holidays as well. Before the pandemic, I'd quite regularly travel and do that. So yeah, I'm quite big on water sports and hiking. I just love being outdoors. I think outdoors is the best place to go, just to clear your head and relax, and that's what I absolutely love to do.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. But it sounds as if you still live a fairly adventurous life, despite the fact that you've reached obviously this grand old age of, you know, whatever age you've reached, which I'm guessing is not that grand or old. But let's talk about the next couple of weeks, because obviously Christmas is just around the corner, as evidenced by your Christmas jumper. So what are your plans? You got any big plans for Christmas?
Well, I hope that we can just spend the time with my family, which will be really lovely. Not anything too big, but going to do some Christmas games, I think, on Christmas Day, and just spend some really quality time with my family. Nothing too exciting.
And do you have particular traditions that you do every year? You know, like opening one present before midnight or something like that.
We have two weird things that we do on Christmas. The first one is we don't usually have Christmas dinner. We have Christmas chili turkey. Yeah, so not Christmas dinner. And the other thing is we do one secret present after dinner as well. So there'll always be a secret present after dinner. And our dinner's always at about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So.
Wow, fantastic! Well, that sounds like you're going to have a good Christmas, and I like those. I like to hear everybody's little traditions that they keep to. Thank you very much, Bobby Olsworth, for talking to us on 5 Minutes With, and now I'll hand you back to Chris at Firestarter HQ.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, very. It's just very heartening, isn't it, to get inside people's Christmas traditions? That's the scary thing. Which I'm sure we could probably do a forum on people's strange Christmas traditions. I'm not going to continue that line of thought just now. And Dave, thank you. I will obviously generally thank everybody later, but Dave specifically, thank you very much for doing these for us all the way through, and not least the anniversary forum where, amongst other things, you played the French horn for us, which was very impressive. So brilliant, and we'll keep doing this. I think it's just great to meet people, find a little bit more out about them, and in some respects, it's always just nice to again put your own world in the perspective given by somebody else's. So that's really interesting. So okay, so it's 12 minutes past 10. We are now going to invite Matt Wheeler onto the screen, I believe. Here he is. Hello, Matthew. It's been a while.
Hello.
So what we're going to do now is a couple of things. We're going to the last couple of months, or 2 or 3 months, we felt we've been a bit pressed on time at the end when we've been having the open discussion, because people always got lots of things to talk about. So hopefully, he says using up all the time with narrative. Hopefully, we've created a bit more space here to do that. So in a moment, we're going to get Matt to tell us what's been going on in the breakout rooms. Hopefully, Matt, you've got loads of chat come through with lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it's coming through now. Yeah.
Excellent. But before that, what we're going to do is something we haven't done for a while, and certainly in the early days was treacherous and dangerous. But I think we're famous last words almost got this off to a fine art now. The quick fire round, and the idea of the quick fire round is we've got a little question, which was, what's your single biggest focus area for 2022? And through the power of the randomizer, or Paddy, as it's otherwise known, we're just going to pick a couple of people and just ask them that question and see what their thoughts are. So, would the first unwilling volunteer please step up? And we have the comedy mute experience here. Hello. Yeah, right. So, nice to see you.
A pleasure to see you, Chris. Nigel Kalamazoo. I think my biggest single focus is to ensure the continuity of the business I've taken over, grow it in 2022, and effectively with a big focus on cybersecurity of our customer base.
Good man, excellent. And I know, because we know you, Nigel. That sounded weird, didn't it? We know you, yeah. We know it's been quite an interesting ride through 2021 as well, hasn't it? And but lots to consolidate as you go through into 2022, exactly, and lots of interesting, great stuff. So brilliant, fantastic, Nigel, brilliant. You came on as well. Thank you, really appreciate it. Right, let's go to. We'll do another couple. So where else are we going now? Right, okay. So thoughts on a postcard. What's your single biggest focus area for 2022? unmuting. That's your first focus area.
My primary focus for next year is actually I have an ambition to raise £100,000 for good causes by providing businesses with a solution to help them develop their own interpersonal communication and people skills. So I'm making a whole suite of short, succinct videos available to businesses at a ludicrously low price, but that money is going to go and buy clean drinking water for children and education for children in Africa, plant some trees, and mental health support for young adults in the UK. So the challenge, as I was explaining to the others, is a lot of people don't realize that they need to develop those particular skills.
Okay, very good. Well, please talk to us offline about it. We'll do whatever we can to help. Yeah, that sounds very impressive, very inspiring. So thank you very much. Right, we'll do one more. Thank you very much indeed. So final. Karen, I just knew you were going to get picked. I just had this sense that somewhere you were going to end up on the screen when I saw you came on. So Karen, what's your single biggest focus area for 2022?
Well, I feel a little bit humble after the previous one, but no, it's very much focusing on developing the business, working with you, and being happy and healthy for the rest of the year.
Brilliant, that's fantastic. And Karen, very excitingly, lives in Paris, although you're not in Paris at the moment. So
no, I'm not. No, I managed to make it back. Yeah.
You made it back, so fantastic. So brilliant, thank you, Karen, and we're really looking forward to 2022. That's going to be fantastic. Right, okay, perfect. So Matt, hopefully now through the art of people sharing their ideas, it's created a bit more time for you to get your head straight on what we're going to talk about. So what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of interesting comments there about 18-year-old selves and 80-year-old selves. And in a second, just to give Paddy a bit of warning, I'd like to chat to Sean Uthup because he's got some sort of quite interesting views on things. But some of the general feedback that I've had here was that 18-year-old selves were rather self-absorbed, worried about themselves. They all wanted to get a big house, get lots of money, and now that people are older, that they're a little bit more worldly wise, thinking about others and helping others, leaving a legacy, adding value, all of that kind of stuff. So very similar to what Simon was just saying there, which is all very good and progressive. I also learned something new as well, a new phrase. So there's a lot of fear about missing out. So the FOMO phrase, which I think we're all aware of, but I've not heard the hassle of missing out phrase, the homo. So that's a new one on me. So that was another one that's coming out. Sean, good to see you. I was sort of interested to think that your 18-year-old self thought you'd be quite boring.
Absolutely, yes. This is why I'm wearing a jumper now, just to try and impress my 18-year-old self. Where are your jumpers, guys? Very disappointing.
Terribly sorry.
Shocking.
Yes, we are poor.
Yes.
Yeah,
we were worried it was a little bit too early, actually, Sean. We didn't think people were quite in the Christmas spirit yet, but I think we've let everybody else down now.
Yeah, I've got all in this year. Yeah, I said my 18-year-old self would probably think I was a complete bore because at 18, you just want to travel the world and always be out and meeting people and doing new and exciting things. And now my middle-aged self is the complete opposite of that, and I'm either in the office or at home, being boring.
It's interesting, isn't it? When I put my photo on LinkedIn yesterday, I was slightly concerned that quite a few of the people who liked it were people I knew, probably not quite, some of them I knew at 18 and some of them I knew at kind of in my early 20s, yeah, of which you were one, Sean, actually, because we worked together like in the late 90s, yeah, and kind of it's almost those people have got a bit more of a window on me, and I feel that's a bit scary, yeah. I remember
and I had similar hair to you, believe it or not.
Yeah, I had hair, absolutely. Sean had hair, yeah, and there was a lot of beer involved, yeah. And those days are gone, yeah. So yeah, very good, excellent. Thank you, Sean. Great to see you as well, and yeah, nicely done on Christmas. Strong effort, yeah.
Okay, so actually, I'm now standing corrected because the phrase that I hadn't heard of before, it doesn't actually exist. It's HOGO, which is the hassle of going out, not the hassle of missing out. So there you go. That's completely different. But so So thanks, Jeff, for that. So actually, I'm gonna pay you back, Jeffrey Keys. If you could come up on the screen, that would be fantastic. Because
this is going to be interesting.
We've got so Jeff. Hopefully, won't mind me saying is slightly closer to the 80-year-old than the 18-year-old, and might have a slightly different view on the way things are. So, but thanks very much for correcting me, Jeff. That's perfect.
I'm just showing I'm still here and haven't gone to sleep yet.
Very good, very good. So, which question are we going to ask you, Jeff? Which what would the 80-year-old you think about what you've done with your life? How about that? Yeah.
Boring.
I mean, really?
It's what I think of myself. I'm near enough there to say it's where I am today is what I'll think.
Oh wow!
Reasonably happy facing up to the new challenges of the next year, which is a bit more the same as before, which is from a work perspective, trying to help the organisations I'm involved with prosper. And I was saying in the breakout, they're actually very different. Although 3 or 4 businesses all involved in tech, some are struggling, looking for an exit, others are prospering just because of the environment. So it's a very varied set of options that we're facing.
Yeah,
it's not as if there's any one theme.
Yeah, I think it's what we were saying earlier. It's everybody's just finding their new kind of skin, aren't they, and what it looks like and how it works. And it doesn't seem the pace of change doesn't seem to be slowing down at all, does it? Really?
No, I mean, one of the businesses I'm involved in has actually prospered during this situation, and they've changed their plan, but as a result of it, they've made a lot more money, doing much better. One of the others has found that which provides IT infrastructure to fundraising bodies. People just haven't got the will to spend the technology to help them raise the money because they're not sure what their budgets are. So there's this, 2 very different scenarios to deal with.
Yeah, and probably everything in between as well.
Yeah.
So
there's 2 more that's totally in between.
Yeah. So very good, Jeff, and an inspiration and an example to us all how you can just keep adding value, keep staying interested. Amazing. So thank you so much for your continued support and engagement.
And sitting in front of Troon Bay, where the kite surfers as much as the windsurfers love it. You can see a kite surfer in the background.
Indeed, yeah, very good, very good, very good. So brilliant, thank you, Jeff. And then Matt,
okay.
what else? What else should we talk about?
Well, I'd quite like to have a quick chat with Craig Wiltshire actually, because he's doing something that that he could never have foreseen actually, because he's doing a lot of work with kind of new technology that actually didn't exist when he was 18, and I mean that's quite an interesting point, I guess, that going back to the generation gap and sort of the 18-year-olds of today thinking about what they want to be doing with their careers and what they're going to be doing in 20 years' time, that it may not actually exist yet. So, Craig, I guess, is quite a good example of that when you look back and reflect on what you've been doing, Craig, I guess.
Probably is, but I think that's probably advice you can give most kids today, that the jobs that they think they might be going into probably going to be going into them. So I think that at the rate of change we're seeing now, I think there's going to be new jobs, new things people are going to need to do. So I don't think it's an unusual situation to be in, I guess.
Did you always have an interest in technology and kind of trying to sort of develop that sort of thing and stay in ahead of the game in that respect, or was it something that kind of came accidentally?
I think it came accidentally out of a needs must situation. I was doing that, playing guitars and things like that, needed something to do.
Oh, have we lost him?
Yeah, I think we're struggling a bit with Craig there, aren't we?
Not to mind. I mean, yeah. So I was going to say, Craig. Similarly, I've 18-year-old Craig was
the internet worked,
musically focused, etc. So, okay, Matt. Let's do. We've got probably time for 1 or 2 more people, and just any other big topics coming through on the chat. Yeah.
Well, so let's go and have a quick chat with Richard Clark, who is I think quite the opposite from Craig actually, and is doing exactly what he wanted to do when he was 18, and actually is maybe kind of looking a bit more to the future and stopping doing what he was doing now. So hey Richard, how you doing?
Hello. So yeah, when I was 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I studied animal behavior at university. Then I went to work in Turkey as a barman, then a water ski instructor, and I knew I just wanted to be in the sun and be happy. And first one, I moved to the sun. I live in the Canary Islands. And sorry, Bobby, I do windsurfing and kite surfing most weekends here. Sorry about that. And but yeah, over the last few years, my company, we've grown it to about 40 people, and then I think it's time that I handed over to someone else. So with the help of some very intelligent people at a small company based in Gloucestershire, they're helping me step out of the company and find someone to help run it. So
they sound good. Those guys.
Amazing guys. Yeah. Not yeah.
No, I thought you were going to say.
If you could put some touch with them, that'd be great.
What does the company do?
We provide software. We build IT teams for UK companies. So we have programmers. We have about 40 programmers working for UK companies.
And some amazing external advisors.
And yeah, amazing external advisors.
Yeah. So very good. Okay, Richard, brilliant. And actually, Richard and Craig, who are kind of amongst others, and Sean, actually, real forum kind of pioneers, actually, from the really early days of the forum. Brilliant to see you guys back in town. Amazing. So, and everybody else who's a regular, really good that we've got such a good turnout. And I know this has been a relatively light-hearted little canter these last few minutes, but it's really interesting to hear people's views on their lives and how their lives have worked out. In our next forum, the topic will be the midlife crisis. No, Matt, next. What are we doing next?
So let's have a quick chat with Giles Etherington. Actually, I think maybe let's do Giles as our last one, and he again is one that's kind of stuck with what he wanted to do when he was 18, but has a slightly more slightly different focus, I guess, now that he's in a different place. So, Giles, tell us a little bit more about what you were sort of talking about in terms of your doing good piece.
Okay, yeah. I've decided next year to focus on only working with good businesses. It's being self-employed and a sole trader. You're lucky that you can choose who you work with anyway. And it's been a sort of subconscious thing for most of the time that I've been working for myself. But it was COP26 really that sort of brought it into focus to me, because we all sat there wondering what the world leaders were doing about everything. And it made me realise, what am I doing about it? So I just want to put the flag up the mast. This next year, I'm going to focus on good businesses. And as I learn to be more sustainable and better, I can pass on that knowledge to them so they can be more sustainable and better. So that's brilliant. That's my plan. Just going back to being 18, when I was 18, I was studying as a graphic designer. Graphic design is still a big part of what I did. Like you, Chris, I drank a lot of beer. And this year I've taken out shares in a craft brewery. So he'd be pretty pleased about that as well.
I found when I was 18, when I drank a lot of beer, A, it didn't affect me particularly. B, it didn't make me put on weight. And all of those things just don't seem to be the case anymore. So I probably drink as much in a year now as I drank in a week then. So, or something like that. But yeah, very good. And we're the same, actually, Giles. We've always said we like to work with people we like to work with. If that makes sense. It's testament to this group of people here, isn't it? That everybody's good people. We like everybody, and we all have a bit of a laugh together. So that's brilliant. So thank you very much, Giles, and great to see you as always. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're pretty well bang up on time. Matt, thank you very much. Before we go, shameless plug. for you, and a corker of a deal. Excellent graphic. You see, I did not do graphic design as a child or as a profession, as is very evidenced here. These courses, practical business planning, better business development, we just run them round and round and round and round again. News flash, we don't really make any money on these courses. We don't do them for that reason. We do them because we think there's good content to share with lots of people. It's an important part of our business. In January, we're doing the boot camp, which we did last year. We run the boot camp for a week. So it's normally a course that we run over 5 weeks, but we run it over a week. So in that week, commencing Monday the 10th, we're doing the boot camp for practical business planning. Some of the bits of content we did today, lots of timing options, so different times during the day for people to hop on and off them. Small groups. As I say, we're not crazy about making super money on it, so we'll try and work out a bit of a deal for this gang and the 200 or so people that have been coming on these forums all this year. And if anybody wants to come on the boot camps in January, you would be super welcome. So we'll go and do a bit of thinking on it, and we'll get some information out in the next couple of days. So that was just my shameless plug. And then the other ask is, please do just keep giving us ideas for these forums. Most of the ideas for the forums come from you, and that really helps us. We just put something together and drive some chat and conversation, and they always seem to work really well. Let's see what 2022 brings us. We will keep doing them so long as people want us to do them and people keep turning up. So yes, please do give us all ideas, however wacky, guest speakers, crazy topics, training topics, big things that are on your mind. Just tell us and we'll work them into the plan. Drop us a line, put it in the chat, whatever. And then finally, I would just like to thank everybody. So first and foremost, I would like to thank all of the people who came here today. As the saying goes, without you, there wouldn't be us. It would be a very dull forum if we were just talking to ourselves. So thank you very much. I would like to give a special shout out to Hannah from Red Blaze, who stepped in today to do part of the tech support because Stephen Pope, our regular tech support guy, is not available. So thank you very much to Hannah. Paddy, as always, for all your brilliant work. Dave and Bobby for the 5 minutes with. Matt, as ever, for all your good work behind this, and the Firestarter marketing team generally, Jack and Danny, brilliant, and really just everybody else. Anybody I've forgotten, I apologise, but thank you so much for all your work behind this. And we'll see most people before Christmas, but if we don't, stay safe, have a happy Christmas, and we will see you on the next forum in January. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
So